I'm Dayna J. Francois, and you're listening to Stirring the Plot. Whether you're gay hot or doing it for the plot, this is the podcast for you. We're here and we're queer, we're gay, and we slay. And today's episode is one I've been excited to bring to you. Not just because the tea is hot, but because the guest sitting with me today is someone who I think is really doing the important work. Really brave and really funny in the world, Tequasia. Welcome to the pod.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited.
I'm excited to have you here. I think you should introduce yourself to the listeners. So just let them know your name, your pronouns, your sexuality, and what is up.
So, my name is Tequasia. Most people call me Quasia, or T for short. My pronouns are she, her. My sexuality, I'm bisexual. And what's the last one? What's up?
Just what's up?
I don't know. What's up?
What are you doing? What's going on? What's keeping you busy these days?
Oh, I'm doing too many things, honestly.
Honestly, work.
I feel like I'm just kind of like stumbling through life right now.
Aren't we all? There we go, right?
But like, doing different things with it.
Yeah.
So
finding your rhythm, finding your place.
Exactly, yeah.
Honestly, that's the best way to do
everything, honestly.
I love that. Funny story, listeners. Quasia and I, we actually go back kind of far.
Yeah.
Junior high even.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. Junior high, high school, even pom-poms had those, cheer uniforms type of back. I'm saying 7 personalities ago. You know what I mean? And I think it's funny, more of the lore, but I think this episode isn't just about where we started. It is about where you are now, which is so exciting. You're fierce, you're funny, you're deeply thoughtful, and your mind, thankfully, does not function the way that the world wants it to. I think you're welcome. Tequasia is the creator of NeuroSpice tea, an Instagram page that spills the neurodivergent truths with heart, humor, and a whole lot of honesty. So this episode is all about navigating life at the intersections of neurodivergence, gender, race, queerness, and connection, and what that means to unmask, to find community, to heal, and to love without drinking. So without further ado, let's stir the plot with Tequasia. But yeah, no, that's funny. And it's funny, the full circle type of thing, starting there and being here and then somehow sitting down to film this podcast. You know what I mean?
So crazy.
I think it is honestly really beautiful that we both have gone through so much and we've changed so much, but still somehow found our way back into each other's orbit. And part of that has been, for me, watching you take up space in a really honest and badass way, especially when it comes to how you talk about the way that you move through life and the way that your brain works and your body and your identity. So I want to start there.
Hey.
I guess my first question to you would be like, when did you first start to understand that your brain worked a little bit differently?
So it's actually more recent. It was probably like after 2021. I graduated with my master's.
Yeah.
And like I almost dropped out of that, but I was just like, I'm gonna push through and finish. But after that, it was like I had no routine. I just was like, I couldn't do anything. I was bedridden. It was weird because I never experienced anything like that.
For sure.
I just was like doing research about like what is going on with me, and I kept getting videos on TikTok about ADHD. They were describing symptoms that I was experiencing. It would be like I would say certain things or like around my friends because I started paying a little bit more attention.
Yeah.
And I would say something or I would like bring up something and people would be like, I never thought about it that way. I thought everybody thought that way,
Right.
What really made me look into both ADHD and autism was I was talking to my friend about going to an event that the girls from the Cardinals were having. And I hadn't seen them in a while. And so I was super nervous, like anxious. I was like, I don't know, like, what am I going to say? And she's like, what do you mean? What are you going to say?
Yeah.
And I was like, what am I going to talk about? And she was like, I don't know. You just have a conversation. And I was like, no, like, I need to know what I'm going to say.
Okay.
She's like, what? And then I asked her, like, you never, like, think about what you're going to say before you go to an event? And she's like, no, I don't. I just go to the event and, like, talk. I'm like, no, there's no way I can do that.
Just free. Like,
yes.
That's crazy.
And so I started doing more research. into autism, and that was like one of the main symptoms that they look out for is like you rehearse conversations before you are in them, you know, or before you go into social situations. And they were saying like you study the way human beings are, and I was just like, oh my gosh, this is crazy.
Yeah.
Like, it was like learning about myself and like things that I never realized I did until I was like doing that research.
Yeah.
And that was only like 2-3 years ago, so not till recent.
Oh, wow.
I was like, okay, that's crazy.
Yeah. It probably felt like so just like comforting, validating, reassuring, but also probably jarring too at the same time. How was it like navigating those emotions when you like for the first time allowed yourself to realize like, oh, I'm not alone and I feel so seen?
Yeah. After I had done so much research, because I started going down rabbit holes, like I was just obsessed with learning more about it.
Yeah.
Because it just felt so affirming. Like, okay, this is actually valid. Like these feelings are valid and it's not just like depression or anxiety. So the more I did research, the more I was like, okay, I feel more confident in knowing that it's not just one thing or the other, and it's not these other things, like this is what it is. And I literally printed out like so many articles. I printed out all these lists of like symptoms that I identified with, like, and I would like put check mark next to it, and I brought it to my mom because that was like the scariest part, is just like, who am I going to tell? Because especially in the Black community, like
it just goes undetected.
But my mom, luckily, she knew a lot about autism because she had been working with children before. You know, it was another interest of hers as well. So she knew a lot, and she worked in hospitals and stuff like that. So I didn't feel like as nervous going to her about it. I felt like she was just gonna be like, girl, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
Like, you don't have this, you know?
Yeah.
But she was really nice. Like, she listened to me, and I think she was surprised because I had all of that, like, backup research.
She said, oh, you have been sitting with this.
Yes. Yeah. And she was like, it makes sense. And I mostly wanted to ask her about how maybe symptoms had showed up in my childhood, because I don't remember a lot.
Of course.
And I knew if I was going to go get a diagnosis, they were going to ask about childhood. And so I was like going through some of the symptoms of childhood and stuff like that. And she was like, okay, yeah, I could see that. I could see that. I could see that. But some of them didn't start showing up till later on in life. So, but yeah, it was a really affirming time, even to hear my mom say that as well.
Yeah.
And obviously to get my diagnosis.
Yeah. What was that process like?
So I was working with a regular like talk therapist at the time, and I brought it up to her, and then she asked like, what symptoms do you feel like you have? Told her, and she's like, okay, we can refer you to someone in your state that you can go get an evaluation for or with. And so they referred me to one out here. The first appointment, it was like you fill out basically the same symptom list that I had been researching. And I was like, I've already answered these questions, so
she's like, I have the sheet already.
Yeah.
Skip this.
So you like fill this out, and then you meet with the doctor. They like have to take all of your vitals and stuff like that, because if you do have it and you do get on medication, they have to make sure that you don't have any like heart palpitations or anything like that, because it is a controlled substance. So it's a little, you know.
Yeah, and a stimulant too, and all of that.
Yeah. So and then they go over the checklist with you. They talk about your childhood, and the doctor's like, yeah, I feel like you might be able to move forward in the next step. And the next step is called a QB test, and it's like, you know, when you go get an eye exam and you have to like press the button when you see like a dot or something. Yeah, it's literally like that. Okay. But you have certain prompts, like if you see 2 dots here, you have to press it 2 times or whatever, and you're in there for like even between 20 and 40 minutes. I think it was 20 minutes, but it felt like 40 minutes. Yeah. But you're just sitting there like looking at the screen, like pressing the button, and they put this thing around your head and it measures your brain activity.
Ooh, okay.
And then at the end, they like print out the results, and then I had to come back for the results, and they like show you the graph of like what your brain looks like. And it was just crazy to see it like physically. And they compare it to a control group that doesn't have ADHD, and they show you like, okay, yeah. And I scored like high, like 98, 99, 96 on each like section of ADHD. He's like, so yeah, you definitely have it. And then from there, you just talk about like treatment plans.
You're like, I passed.
Yeah, I was like, yes. Yay.
I'm dead.
I was all anxious, like, what if he's like, girl, you were just definitely gaslighting yourself.
That would be crazy. But no, like, that's the thing. It's just like, especially like, honestly, for anything when it comes to like the medical field and like seeking assistance or help, like, make your voice heard. You know yourself best.
Yeah.
And like, you sometimes have to go out of your way to get the help that you need. You have to advocate for yourself, you know? And you did. And that's impressive, especially at a young age.
It was scary, but I think also having that physical, like I said, not evidence, but like that I could also bring back to my mom and my family and just be like, hey, like, yeah, this is actually real. And for me, just to affirm to myself, I wasn't going crazy. I wasn't, you know, just making excuses. That was the biggest thing throughout the process. I kept gaslighting myself and being like, you're just making excuses, you know, or it's not that. It could just be this. And you're just trying to put an end to something, you know?
Yeah.
And so it was just really affirming to have that, you know, physical evidence and be like, okay, like, I was right. I know. It just gave me a little bit more confidence, I guess.
Yeah.
More trust in myself that I knew what I was feeling and experiencing.
100%. And then like going through that process, when exactly was the moment when you started and you started to gain that information and feel that, you know, validation, go from point A to point B? And when did you feel like, oh, I want to name this and I want to share it with the people closest to me and I want to move forward in that?
After I kind of processed, like, okay, this is what it is, started to get on medication and kind of feel, because that was even a whole journey in itself. I felt very nervous about getting on medication. There's kind of a stigma. At least I had a stigma in my head.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't want to depend on these meds to have to do life. I've been doing life for 25 years. And so why can't I do that now? You know? And that was really hard to get over. But once I was on the medication, I was like, okay, I understand that this is just a tool for me really to help me get throughout the day.
Literally.
And do what I have to do. The more that I was denying it, the more I wasn't getting stuff done. The way that my brain was working, I wanted to do all these things, but then I couldn't, like, physically. So with the help of the medication, it just really helped me not even think about it. Just do it.
Yeah. It is just a tool and a resource to help you live your best life, honestly.
I just felt a little bit more confident in that. And I started talking more about it to my family and kind of explaining it and everything. And I felt like them kind of knowing more information. It was like a light bulb went off with them. I just felt like there's not a lot I didn't see, at least before I started getting more information about ADHD. I didn't see a lot of education or just people talking about it. And I didn't realize how many people had it. Once I started talking about it, then people were like, oh yeah, I have it too. Or, you know, it was like, okay, if I maybe speak up about it, weird to say, but like a lot of people, especially when it comes like to autism, when they look at me, they're like, you don't look like you have autism. I realized that I could use my platform, or even, it's not a big platform, but it's something.
Yeah, of course.
And a lot of people around me in my community don't know a lot about it. So at least they will get the information, you know, and then from there, they can either choose to spread it, or at least they'll have that information. Like 100%. Somebody will have it.
No, yeah.
So that's when I kind of decided, okay, I don't really, this is a part of me, like it's going to be a part of me, and it shows up obviously every day. So I feel like the more I talk about it, the more people will understand me as well.
100%.
Because it was like, you kind of start realizing people are looking at you like, girl, what? Like, so I just felt like, okay, I'm just going to talk about it because I don't care. You know? No,
honestly, that is a perfect point to make, especially whenever you said specifically that like someone would come to you or look at you and be like, you don't look like you have autism. What the fuck does that mean? Like, you know, genuinely, what does autism look like? You know, like it's a spectrum, but what does that look like? There's not a look, you know? It's like the same thing as like, you don't look like a gay person, or you don't look like denomination of like some kind of, you know, like that's insane. And it probably goes into the whole idea of like appearances. And a lot of the time, a big conversation that I've been navigating and unpacking, and because it's an intersection in so many different topics, is the idea of unmasking and masking in public. And especially with you, I wonder if you see this in your day-to-day, especially when it comes to your journey with navigating neurodivergence and ADHD. Do you think think that there's so many people who just don't realize that masking, especially like for us as Black women, it just becomes second nature to you, you know? And you don't even realize that you're doing it until you get into a position where you're like, this is like prohibiting me from doing something, or this is hurting me, you know? So I guess my question is, what has your relationship to masking looked like?
Yeah, I mean, my whole life I've been masking, I've figured out. And even still, there's so many ways that I haven't unmasked yet. I feel like it's longer process than I expected. I'm not trying to put too much pressure to do it, but there are times where I'm like, okay, I really do need to sit with this and realize it's okay, you know? So yeah, it's still a process. And there's even ways where I don't even realize I'm masking because it's so subconscious now, because I've lived with it, you know, my whole life. Of course. And it's not even just with the symptoms that, you know, come with autism, but even just being a Black woman, you know, we already have things that we're having to mask.
Oh, 100%.
And then adding on being gay into that, it's, you know, more things that you're having to mask.
100%.
Like, at this point, it just becomes second nature and you don't even realize it. So yeah, I mean, it shows up every day, and there's even times, like I said, I just don't even realize it. And I'm like, okay, I got some more thinking, sitting to do.
Yeah, of course. And I think we're all on our journey, and we all have to, you know, work on at your own pace to, you know, begin to unmask and feel situations where you can do that.
Yeah.
So I guess as you're navigating that and you're sitting with it and you're learning, like, because it is a realization to be like, yeah, I've been masking my whole life. Or I'm even like in these places where it's like, I'm really on this journey of being my most authentic self, but here I am in this space where I should feel the most validated I am, and I'm masking. Like, you know, I do that too. Like you know, so for you, when you're navigating this journey, what does unmasking look like for you now? Like in real time, when the times that you feel like I can take the mask off, what does that look like to you?
I think just like you said, being able to be authentic, not think about everything. Yeah. I feel like, especially, I don't know if everybody thinks like this or not. I've, you know, have to come to terms with I do have a different brain, but I feel like I'm constantly thinking about what these people are thinking about me, or like when they see me, how they are perceiving. Yeah, there we go. Perceiving. There we go. How they are perceiving me. Yeah. And so I think just being able to not care, I didn't care, and that's been a journey for me, and it's been actually very nice. Even in public, before it was like I at least had to like do my hair, not necessarily put on makeup, but do my hair. Now I literally don't care. Yeah. Like, don't care, because I know that I'm still me. It doesn't change like who I am, and I just don't care. Yeah. No, that's so that's like one part of the unmasking that has helped. And then the more that I get comfortable with that, the more that I start unmasking in different ways. Like not worrying about talking to my hands so much, not looking people in the eyes, you know, looking away when I'm talking, getting lost in my train of thought and saying that out. Yeah. Like those are all things that I've been comfortable with, like unmasking. I think the only things that I really haven't addressed are things that I'm not even aware of. Yeah. So when those come, I guess. Yeah, you just go with it. Yeah. Roll with the punches, or whatever they say, for sure. Yes. So one question that I have for you would be, how do you personally define neurodivergent? What does it feel like to live in your body and your brain? It feels, that's a good question. It feels like there's a battery in my brain. Okay. But my body has no gas. Okay. So it's like my brain is nonstop. It never stops working. Yeah. I quite literally have to take sleep meds so I can shut it off. Yeah. Because it doesn't stop working. Oh yeah. But that can be super overwhelming too, because your thoughts have thoughts. And it's like, and you're also having to just be in real life. Yeah. You know, so often I'll just be in space in my head because I'm just thinking of the thoughts that have the thoughts. So
Exactly.
I have to really work on like being present.
Yeah.
But because there's so much input, it's exhausting. It's like there'll be times where I really, really want to do all these things, or my brain is going 1,000 times an hour and I want to do all these things, but my body's tired. And so as much as I want to get up, it's so hard to get up. It's physically hard to get up.
Yeah.
And it's so hard to explain. It's kind of like if you had a weighted blanket on you and you're trying to get up. That's how it feels.
Yeah. And
so
like the gods say,
yes,
I gotta stay.
Yeah, I'm always tired. But sometimes I'm well rested, but I'm still tired, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
My brain will be well rested, body tired, always.
Damn.
So I don't know. You just learn to live with it.
You just push through.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
But I'm trying to be a little bit more cognizant of taking care of my body because of that. So making sure I'm staying active, feeding it well, like stretching, if I need massages or whatever, that if I'm able to get those, because I know that is a lot of strain on the body. I don't want to, I don't want to age my body. Longer, faster than it needs to be. Aging is beautiful, but yeah.
Going along those lines, and especially with you learning your journey and wanting to share that with other people, what inspired you to create NeuroSpice tea and start sharing your experience in a more public way?
The last job I had, I was working with survivors of human trafficking, and I was a facilitator for a group that they had to attend as part of their kind of rehabilitation. It was a trauma group, and it was just really eye-opening. Like, these women were so strong.
Yeah.
They've gone through so much, and to be able to see just like them grow and talk about things that they wanted to do in life and be so vulnerable in a room full of strangers.
Yeah.
I was just like, why can't I do that? You know? And so I had already been wanting to start some sort of group where you could come together and just talk about, I would like pick certain topics and we would just talk about it, you know? And because I found out through facilitating that group how common most people are. And, obviously that was like a certain group that was specific. So of course they're going to have very certain commonalities that maybe we don't have. But in general, even I, could relate to them in certain ways, like we're all human. And they were able to connect in different ways. And I figured it could be a way for people just to come together and be together for one thing, but then also figure out that they're, more common than not.
Exactly, yeah.
And so that idea came to me. I was off of social media for a year because I just needed a break. And so I had a bunch of ideas that were like coming to me that I was thinking about. So I was thinking about doing that, but because I had been off of social media for so long, I didn't have a following. Okay, yeah. So I was like, I need to get my following up. So that's kind of been what I've been working on now. But through that, I started thinking about it more, and NeuroSpice literally just came to me. I was trying to write like goals that I wanted to do, and I was actually going to start a podcast. And I was like,
do it for the plot.
I've tried to start a podcast for so long, literally since college. I've been trying to start a podcast. So I was like, I'm gonna do it this year finally. Yeah. I was trying to think of a name and I couldn't think of one, and I was like thinking, what did I want to have a certain niche, or did I just want it to be whatever? Yeah. What was I gonna do? And the name just literally popped in my head. And I was just like, yeah, NeuroSpice. And I was like, I don't know, it kind of sounds really cheasy. But then I started thinking about it, and I'm like, yeah, because like NeuroSpicy, tea could be my name tea, but also tea, like spilling it. Yeah. And I was like, I don't know, I just feel like it goes. No, honestly. So I had been sitting on it for like a year, honestly. Okay. And finally I was like, I'll just make a page. Because before I was going to name the Instagram page another thing that I wanted to name, like the group events. But I just never followed through. And I was telling my friend about NeuroSpice tea, and she's like, why don't you just make an Instagram page and start it there? And then you could build a following there. 100%. And it'll be people, who can connect to you through being neurodivergent. And my main goal goal was really to get information out. It's really just to educate and kind of tell people's story. And so, yeah, I was just like, I'm just gonna do it.
No, honestly, no, you ate down with it. And I think I said that to you whenever I saw that you created the page. I was like, this is cool as hell. I think it's super, one of my favorite things is when people just embrace their authenticity, but also hold space for not just your truth, but like finding others, because I think that's something that I try to model in my own life. And one of the reasons why I started this podcast and why, like I like to share, spoken word poetry and that kind of thing, is to essentially share my truth, but I'm really walking forward in life with this mindset of take what resonates and leave the rest, because like you could share something that you're like, this shit is something that I need to get off my chest, and someone will be like, I needed to hear that. And you're just like, oh my God. And it just makes you feel not alone, and it makes you feel seen and heard and validated. And I try to be the type of person, I pride myself on being the type of person to just hold space for whoever needs it. And so I think that is really special, that you are holding space for not just distinct niche group, but you're welcoming other people inside it as well. So I think that's super cool, and that's why I was like, I have to give you your roses, and the creativity with the name, you ate down with it. I was like, period.
Thank you. Yeah, I was really nervous. I was like, I feel like people are gonna be like, what the heck? Nobody wants to know about this. I don't know. I'm really harsh on myself sometimes, and then I got good feedback. People were saying, oh, this is so cool. And I don't know. I guess we'll see.
No, I think it's awesome. So my last question for this segment is, what kind of responses in regards to NeuroSpicy so far? Anything that has surprised you, or is there anything that's felt like really affirming?
Yeah, a lot of people reached out and they'll say like, I relate to a lot of this. And I think for me, if I can help someone else realize that they may have it or get the help that they need, that is the main goal. And because I know how rewarding that was for me, or just how relieving it was for me. And so it's just super cool. Not cool.
That's cool.
It's cool too. Yeah, it is cool to see people, being able to relate or maybe go on their own journey. And also people saying, I don't see a lot of this, or it just feels good being able to have a place to go and talk about it if I need to, or relate to, whatever I'm posting. So that's been super cool and affirming. And even like when I post about it, I saw my mom and my sister like the day after. And how did you come up with that name? That's so cool. And this whole time I kept thinking the name was so dumb. Like, this is so stupid.
No, and everyone's gassing you up for it. For your girl stand-up business.
I know. I was like, oh, okay. So like the more that I hear it, the more affirming it is for me too. And just again, like learning how to trust myself.
There you go.
No doubt.
I think that's awesome. I want to slide into another segment. In this season of my life, I've been big on like intersectionality. So many different communities, and we're all from different areas, and embracing not just the labels, but just like where you come from and everything that makes you you. That type of thing. So let's talk about intersections. And for you, being neurodivergent isn't just its own identity, but it overlaps with other identities for you, your blackness, your queerness, your womanhood. And I think a lot of people don't realize how much that compounds. So how do these layers show up for you, especially in regards to navigating relationships, dating, friendships, or even family?
So it's like a quadruple threat for me. I am disabled, I'm Black, I'm a woman,
and you're just out here
literally fighting.
Just a girl.
Fighting, So I'm very aware that I may be a target for certain things. And I think it's something I've become a little bit more aware of now that I've started to explore my queerness more and, go on dates with women and be out in public with women. I'm very cognizant of like, okay, I need to be even more toned in, even more aware than I was before about what's going on around me. But also with my family, and if y'all are listening, shout out to y'all. Love y'all. But They are from the South, and so there's a lot of, you know, traditional, for sure, conservative just ideals out there.
Yeah.
I don't know. I never felt super nervous because I guess I just started barely coming to terms with, okay, yes, this is a part of me. But my family has always made me feel welcome. And so I felt like coming out to them, yes, I was scared, but I wasn't expecting a big debacle, we're disowning you type of thing.
Yeah.
Luckily, like I do have a really supportive and loving family, but I do know that it was not easy for them.
Yeah.
And that it was it's going to be a process. And I'm sure it still is a process. I haven't came out to my whole family. I did come out to my mom, and my mom had conversations with my dad. And so they're aware, but we haven't had like
a talk.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I'm sure they know now because I'm always posting stuff.
Yeah.
So they're probably putting two and two together.
Yeah.
And nobody said anything, like nothing has changed. And so I'm sure maybe they have their own thoughts, which you can keep to yourself, you know, as long as you like accept me and my partner. If I bring someone around ever, like I would hope that you would respect them and me. And I'm sure they're, you know, going through whatever. And I told my mom too when I came out to her, if you have any questions, you can ask them. Like, even if you're scared, all questions are okay.
Yeah.
And I will answer them because I understand like it's a process, but luckily I had a good coming out story.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I know it's rare, but it's especially, yeah, like you said, the very traditional conservative type. It can be difficult, but to know that at the end of the day, like you're loved and you're safe and you're, you know, seen still, and they hold space for you.
Yeah.
I think that's really important because you've talked about how you've always been very like family oriented, really close to your family. You know, your sister and you guys are like super close, right? So yeah, I think that's super important to navigate all of that. So for you, when you're navigating these relationships and even just dating life and everything like that, what does emotional intimacy look like for you as like a neurodivergent person?
I have always said, like, if you can't open up to me or be deep at any point, if we cannot have a deep conversation, it's going to be really hard for me to connect with you or want to engage in conversation. Honestly, I hate small talk. It physically makes me uncomfortable. Yeah. Because it's like, I don't care. Sometimes I genuinely don't know what to say. I'm always going too deep. And then everyone's like, oh, okay. Nobody has ever called me out on that or been like, whoa, like too fast. Normally they, by that time, feel comfortable talking to me, and then they'll be like, oh, I don't know how we got here, but you know, it's like, oh yeah, my bad. Because it's just so hard for me not to go deep. I can't connect with someone because I know it's fake.
Yeah.
So you have to just be able to open up, and I know it's not easy, so I'm like first time I meet you be like, what are your thoughts? But second time. But that's something. You have to be, it can't just be surface level. There's something that we can have a deep conversation on, even if it's like why you like the color cerulean or something. I don't know. Or why you like the movie Us. You know, something that we can connect on. Yeah. Otherwise, it just, I can't.
Yeah. You know, not just like what's your favorite movie, but like why. The depth there. For sure. That makes sense. I feel like I always talk about this with my friends too. Like, I think I'm kind of similar in the way where it's like, I don't really like do small talk either. Sometimes there's like a running joke in my friend group where they're like, you know, it's a certain point of the night whenever Dayna's like asking about people's traumas, like, you know, you pass the Benjamin around enough times and then Dayna's suddenly asking you, how's your relationship with your dad? You know, that type of thing. And I just feel like for me, like on a more serious note, like I agree. I think that we live in a world where human connection is so rare, honestly, right now, because we're so disconnected as a community that like finding those people where you can actually feel safe to like have real conversations with is more rare. And you like, what's the point in wasting the little amount of time that we have on, you know, small talk or surface level things? Like, I want depth, I want realness, I want to know why you are the way you are at this point in your life. Yeah, exactly. Like, what else is there, you know?
I feel like as humans, we're social beings. Like, we're, even if it's painful, and I understand because I don't really like being social, but there are times when I am, and when you have that connection connection with someone, when you make a connection with someone, it's like, oh, like this is what life is about. You know, just connecting and experiencing life as humans.
Exactly.
So you can't do that if you're not talking.
Quite literally. I definitely agree. Has your exploration and acceptance and understanding of your queerness helped you find language for your neurodivergence, or vice versa? Has neurodivergence helped you with your queerness?
Yeah, I think it was neurodivergence really helped me with my queer identity, because I realized in my brain I can recognize that these are just ideas that society has put on us, and that everybody experiences sexuality in a different way, and that's why it's a spectrum. And even when it comes to like gender roles, like I've never understood that. I've always been like an equal thing, even if we're doing 50-50, like I don't care, because yes, like we're equally putting into this situation, whatever it is, friendship, relationship, just being a human in society. Like we should all be putting in what we can, whatever we can put in. Learning more about my brain and the way it works really helped me understand that, like, okay, yes, I do have an attraction to women. And at first it was just like, okay, like I was sexually attracted to women. I feel like all girls are sexually attracted to, like, it's just something that people do. And then it was like, I probably wouldn't date them, or I probably wouldn't date a woman. And then the more I started thinking about it, it was like, okay, yeah. Like, just come to terms with it, you know? And I was like, okay, yeah. Like, and from there, I started feeling more comfortable and like, okay, affirming myself. And the more that I explore that, the more that I feel comfortable in it. And I think because I was able to learn about the way my brain worked, I know it sounds kind of weird, like how does that equal? But it was just kind of like, I think differently, and not, even if you aren't neurodivergent, you know, and you're queer, it just means that you're not adhering to these standards that are put on to us. Just living life. Like, you like what you like, you're attracted to what you're attracted to, and that's that.
Yeah, for sure. Like, everything is a spectrum.
Exactly.
And everything is on a binary.
Exactly.
And wherever you are, in whatever regard, you're on there somewhere, you know?
Exactly.
And at the end of the day, we're just existing. And we're figuring out where we belong in the world and how we want to show up as our authentic self, like you said.
Exactly.
So I definitely agree with that. For you, what is one thing that you wish that people understood about navigating relationships while neurodivergent?
Sometimes we will forget things, and it's not because we don't care or we weren't listening. It's just because there's a million things.
And your thoughts have thoughts.
And the thoughts have thoughts. But also, we also remember very specific things, a lot of detail. I think the way that we communicate, if you are someone that's neurotypical, is way different. A lot of times, people who are neurodivergent are very direct, or when they ask questions or when they corner you, they're not cornering you. They just are genuinely asking more questions because they want to know. They want to understand a little bit better, and a lot of times it can come off as aggressive or argumentative. And I think that can cause issues because, like, I'm not accusing you of anything, or I'm not saying that you're not doing this or questioning you. I'm genuinely trying to understand. Yeah. Or even if I'm explaining the way that I'm feeling, I explain it in my thoughts. So, like, I thought this, I reacted this way, that's why I had this reaction, that's why I'm feeling this emotion. And sometimes it can come off as me blaming you. And I'm not doing that. I'm just explaining why I feel this way or how I got to this feeling. Yeah. So I think in the ways that we communicate, it's a little bit different.
For sure.
So just kind of understanding that, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. That definitely makes sense. But yeah, so basically I've seen a lot of folks frame neurodivergent joy as kind of like a rebellion, choosing to enjoy your brain, your way of existing, as being like a radical act.
Yeah.
So does that idea resonate with you?
Yes. That process in itself is hard if you are someone who's been so rigid. And I was very rigid before. I still love a routine, but it was like the reason why I was so hard on myself when I started recognizing I had symptoms was I've always been go, go, go.
Yeah.
And I've always been, you've been in bed 2 days, you're lazy. And so that was like the main thing I kept telling myself, like, you're just so lazy.
Oh.
Like, get your ass up.
Yeah.
Like, so that was a process, and learning my brain does not work like other people.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
It might take longer for me to do things, because that's another thing. Like, processing for me sometimes takes a long time. It's not that I'm dumb, because there are times where like people will get things right away and I'm like, what the fuck? And then the more that I sit with it, the more I process it, and then I go deeper.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, so I do understand this. It just took me a while.
Yeah.
To get there. The more I started really affirming that in myself, like, you are different, you are different. I had to remind myself, and I still have to remind myself that all the time, because when you live in your own head, you just feel like everybody else is like that. And so I feel like everybody else is like that, and I'm like, why don't I have my shit together but they do? Or why am I not in this place but they do? And it's not just like regular comparing, but it's literally like developmental comparing in a way. That's something that's, you know, still hard. Not hard, but it is still something that I have to remind myself. The more that I do that, the more for me it is, and the better it feels, the more authentic and the more freeing it is. That's the best part. It just feels free. And the more you can kind of see, like, there's a better life, and you just refuse to get there.
Do you think along those lines, like, we are probably the biggest obstacle, like ourselves, we get in the way of ourselves?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
I think so too. I definitely think so too. Yeah. I kind of want to shift the lens just for a second, because obviously queerness is a huge part of this podcast. It is in the DNA of the show, and it's also something that feels layered and beautiful and sometimes really hard to name, especially when you're navigating other big things like, for you, neurodivergence and culture and just the overwhelming pressure of existing. And you've been open in the way only a, you know, brave bad bitch can be about being for you. And feel free if you want to stop me before I get into this, but I just remember past conversations, I try to segue them in, but you've been really open and honest and vulnerable about being in a long-term relationship with a man previously before allowing yourself to fully claim your queerness and to act on it. I would love to hear, and I'm pretty sure the listeners would love to hear more about your journey with that, not just the coming out story, but the internal shifts that brought you closer to your own truth.
Yeah, so some more tea being spilled. While I was in that relationship,
she said, wait a minute.
Because it's gonna get X-rated. We exchanged stories about people we had hooked up with before we got together. I realized that when he was talking about the women he was hooking up with, I was getting turned on. And I was like, oh, okay. So I like,
so that's totally a normal like response though. It's like,
we would like, I would want to talk about it for hours. Just like, oh, well, like, how did that happen? Like, I don't know.
He's like, and I was like, no, less of that.
Right.
What was she doing?
Exactly.
Just for research purpose.
No, I would literally ask, like, oh, so like... And so I sat on it for a little while, and then he would like make comments about how other girls were cute, and I was like, oh yeah, she is cute, and like we would talk about girls, and I was like, okay. So I brought it up to him. I was like, I think that like I'm bi. And he was like, yeah, that makes sense, you know.
He's like, is this new to you?
Right. Girl, yeah. And so I had talked about like, and I don't want it to seem like I was using him as a means of exploring that.
Yeah.
But I do think it was just a part of that journey. It was like, well, I kind of want to see what it would be like to bring someone else in. And he was, you know, on board with that. And that was something that we were exploring together.
Yeah.
And so that's when it was kind of finally starting to click, like, okay, this is something that like, yeah.
Solidified.
Exactly.
Period.
And then it wasn't until after the relationship that I, you know, had an interaction with a woman and like hooked up with a woman. And then that's when it was like, okay.
You're like, he didn't need to be there.
Exactly.
Got it.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. That is funny. So you think that it was probably that moment in itself that made it undeniable for you.
Yeah, it was always there, like I said, but I just figured everybody, like all girls were like that until I started talking about it with my friends.
You're like, personally?
You're like, wait, you wouldn't do that? And they're like, personally, no. I was like, oh, okay. I guess. Like,
you're like, oh, so you're not my target audience.
Right.
I need to talk to a gay person.
Yeah, like, where are the gays?
That's crazy. No, honestly, T, I used to, like, I genuinely, like, fully used to just be very, like, no, like, I'm just an ally. I'm, like, so happy for you guys. Like, I think it's great that you're doing that. Tell me more.
Right.
Like, don't skip the details. Like,
every detail.
Like, genuinely, like, but I'm so glad for you.
Yeah.
Like, I would never do that,
So
but,
cool.
like, yeah, tell me a little bit more, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, that type of vibe.
Exactly.
I genuinely, like, the closet was made of glass, but, you know, we all get there.
Right.
Eventually. Along those lines and continuing down the journey and finally getting to that point where it's undeniable for you, how did, for you, neurodivergence shape the way that you processed or named your queerness? And along those lines as well, being raised in like a Black family, especially when it leans more traditional, like you said, that adds so many quiet expectations onto you. How did that shape the pace and privacy of your queer journey?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's still pretty private. This is probably the first year that it's been a little bit more louder and out there. But even with my neurodivergence, I think it was another thing where it was out there and I knew my family was going to take some time to digest, although they probably already saw the signs. Or like once they figured out, it was like, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah,
you know?
for sure.
I know even when I told my sister, like for both that I was, you know, that I liked girls as well and that I had ADHD, she was like, yeah, that makes sense, you know? And or like, oh, so that's why you just randomly blur out things or sing, you know? It's like, yeah. Just like unpacking both of those, I did a lot in private and I still think it was in private as far as my family, but they're still supportive. And like I said, nobody said anything to me directly. Like obviously there's going to be comments made. If I feel like it's necessary to call it out, I will. But for the most part, I just let it roll off. Like some people are just at the point where they're not going to change their mind.
Ignorance.
And I think me not pushing that also helps, like I said, that processing. And it doesn't make them feel so pressured to feel a different way. Because I feel like sometimes that can feel like threatening in a way.
Yeah, they go on the defense.
Exactly. And so me just showing up and still being the same person that I am, like it doesn't change anything. It doesn't change who I am. It's like, okay, they can kind of see the human in it. And like, this is still Quasia, like, you know?
Yeah.
So I would hope, like I said, I haven't had any other reaction or
for sure
that way. So
I think that's so true. And like kind of what you said, at the end of the day, it's like, it is quite literally your business. You're, you know, a grown adult person who navigates your own, you know, relationships and your own journey. And it's really like, whose business is it, what you're doing? Obviously you want to be your most authentic self and you want to form those connections and be open, like you said. But when it comes to like the decisions that you make in your daily life, the only person that it's going to fully impact is yourself and your, you know, said partner. So as you navigate that with that mindset, like do you at the end of the day, the other people are just characters in that storyline, you know? So period. What does queerness now feel like for you in your body, in your relationships, in your self-perception?
It feels safe. Yes, it feels safe. It feels right. And liberating. It's just been fun. Just like living in the fact that like I'm comfortable with this. I put myself more out there and exploring that, which has been a challenge because I was so nervous. Girls are so they make me so nervous. And they're so hard to talk to, not in a bad way. But it's like, you know, I feel like when I'm dating women, and not that I don't do this with men either, but for women, I really want to show up for them. I want to, in every way, I want to be the best me, because women are like always the best thing. It's just different. The caliber is way more. So
well, yes, quite literally,
yes. So that it's been not a challenge for me, a good challenge, I guess I could say. It's been a good challenge for me, and just really wanting to level up, be the best me, just so, you know, I can reflect that in a relationship. You know, if I were to ever pursue that or get into a relationship, I would want to be the best me. I would want to show up as the best me.
Absolutely.
And I think just talking to women or exploring that has really helped me challenge that in myself.
Absolutely. And going along the lines of, like you said, being your best self in that relationship or whatever relationship may transpire, it goes along the lines of just like you invite that type of energy, like whatever you put out, like the universe is going to match you, or so you hope. But genuinely, you want to match that energy. And when you said you want to show up more, I guess, like for me, and maybe this is just like, you know, my mindset, but like men are very easy.
They are.
At least like from my experience about when I did date men, I'm like, they were so easy. Like you did not have to try. I am in the motherfucking trenches with women. You know, it's a battlefield. Like
I'm over here like I know, and not that I never planned dates before, but we're planning dates. Like I want to plan a date. I want to figure this out. I need to get more money. Like I'm trying to do this, is that.
Yeah.
And I just didn't feel like that with men.
No,
like,
you're just existing. You're just there. You're like,
just there.
Do what you need to do to impress me. I say jump, they say how high, right? Period. Exactly.
But honestly, I don't know. Because like I always say it's harder to date women, but not in the way that most people think.
Yeah.
It's not like, because it's way harder to date men in regards to I don't know how to put that in words.
Honestly, fucking tweet to that. Like, quite literally,
Like, what?
Yeah.
What goes through your head?
Yeah.
What goes, you know? But with women, it's... The hard part is that it's almost like a mirror. Like, it's more so, it challenges you.
Oh, 100%.
And that's the hard part.
That's
with men, they don't really challenge me. I don't feel challenged.
No, they're quite
in that
just
way.
there.
I feel challenged with my emotions.
Oof.
And my sanity.
Oof.
But
yeah. Honestly, real. And to like along those lines, like, yeah, with women, it's like you said, I really like what you said about it being a mirror almost. And like, two, I always say like the hardest thing I think about dating women is, as a woman, I know this to be true. We think about everything from every different fucking angle. So you're like, every way that you come at me, I know there's thought behind it. I know it's intentional. I know that you've lost sleep over it. I know you've overthought it as much as I have.
Yeah.
And so when you're navigating it, you have to move with so much intention, and you have to figure out where your intention is coming from. Is it, you know, obviously you hope that it's good intention. Sometimes whenever people make certain questionable decisions, you wonder, you're like, well, you thought about that, because I'm a woman and I know that we think about it. And so I think that's the hardest thing for me when it comes to dating women, is the fact that it's like men, like they don't have a clue. Like they don't think about one thing. They think one thing. Only one thing.
Right. They do think about one thing.
So with women, it's like a battlefield, but it's like a landmine, like within like your thought process too.
Yeah.
It's an added layer. Godspeed.
Right.
Godspeed.
Like,
veteran. I don't know. Veteran over here, so I feel you, I see you.
I know everybody keeps saying that. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Just like Friends, whenever Monica was like, welcome to adulthood, it sucks, you're gonna love it.
No,
that's queerness. That's dating women.
Yeah.
It sucks. You're gonna love it. Oh my gosh. A little bit lighter of a question. What is something just super, this was a weird word that I put, delicious,
I like that word.
about being queer that no one prepared you for?
Oh, that's a good question. I guess not feeling like I need to perform.
Oh, yes.
I feel like even when I was comfortable, you know, with men, when I was dating them, and I didn't feel like I needed to perform, it was still kind of like a performance. And there were still certain things where like I didn't really like talking about, or like so fast, or I was still very cognizant of, you know. But with women, I can just be like real and raw.
Yeah.
So that's been really nice. And like I said, just really the challenge that it pushes me to be, I don't know, like it gives me a different view, I guess. I just see things very differently.
Yeah, definitely.
And I think it like catapulted me into adulthood. It sounds weird, but like before I just felt like I was kind of living in a different world and like La La Land, but not like the cute La La Land. Just like lollygagging lost.
Yeah. You know? No, yeah.
But now it's like, okay, like this is what it's like, you know, to be a woman and to love a woman or to, you know, want to be there for a woman and, you know, to be attracted to women, everything that comes with that. It just feels freeing, light. Is it light?
There you go, light. Oh, I love that, period. So just to end on that same note, like what does queer joy look like for you currently where you are?
Living out loud. Yeah. Catching up on all the queer things that I missed. And by that, I mean like just like the history and just like the community and really immersing myself in it and learning from people. I feel like it's fun.
Yeah.
You know, that's joy for me. And everybody in the queer community, they embrace joy, you know, and they're living out loud, they're living free, and that's the best part. So yeah.
No, I definitely agree. And I think it definitely started last year. I found myself just I fell into this community exactly like you said. And it has been the most liberating thing. It has been the most, like, I feel like I have just transformed in where I am, who I am, just sitting so secure in my identity, in my authenticity, and also just forming and cultivating these queer relationships, friendships, community that just are so healing.
Yeah.
It's crazy how necessary, I didn't even realize how necessary it was to heal like those childhood wounds that I didn't even kind of were muted or submerged, you know, and how I have just transformed the way that I think about relationships in general and how I want to show up like for people. And it's just been so beautiful to heal my inner child who has she went through it when it came to like your journey with your sexuality, especially as being like, you know, a pastor's kid and, you know, having a set expectation on you and just how it's been really affirming and freeing the validity of showing up as my truest, most realist, authentic self has been just liberating and beautiful.
Yeah, definitely.
So I resonate and I see you and let's kiki.
Yeah.
I want to pivot just a little bit because we know dance has always been a part of your life. How has movement been a tool for you for expression, for regulation, or just for joy?
Movement is essential in my life. Wake up every day and I'm grateful that I can move. Seriously, because the times when I've gotten sick and I couldn't move, or if I've been hurt and I couldn't move, it really affects my mental health. And even like trauma is stored in the body, and when you're moving, you're helping that energy get out.
Yeah.
And a lot of times I can't put into words what I'm feeling or thinking, and dance helps with that. Sometimes like I'm just upset, I don't even know what I'm feeling. I don't know if it's anger, I don't know if it's sadness, I don't know if it's anxiety. I'm just in a mood. I go to dance and I'm able to put that energy in dance.
Hell yeah.
And then after, I feel good. You know, I'm feeling, okay, yeah, I was able to be around the people who love what I love. Everybody's so welcoming in the dance community, so empowering, like to watch people grow and to be there to support them and they support you. It's needed.
Yeah.
And so you get to see that, and you're moving your body, not only working out, but you're expressing yourself, you know, and it helps also with that confidence, because before I started getting back into dance, I lacked self-confidence. Like I was not confident.
Really?
Yeah. And dance has really helped me find that confidence and really lean into that. So it's essential in my life.
That's crazy. But from what you said, what do you think was like the biggest factor that like fed into that like idea of like your self-confidence being low?
Around that time, because I feel like before I was never really, like, I didn't have super low confidence. I felt like I was a pretty confident person. I just wasn't like super self-confident. I wasn't loud with my confidence. It was more so kind of, I knew who I was in a way. For the most part at the time. But around this time, it was like a lot of rejections that I was going through. I didn't make it into the JD program I was trying to get into. At the time, I had me and my ex had broken up. I had lost my job from the pandemic. This was post 2020.
Yeah.
So it was just like a lot of change in my life. And I was just like, oh my God. It was just kind of, you come to this realization, like, for the past few years, I had all these good things going for me.
Yeah.
You know, I had graduated high school. I did so much in high school, got on a scholarship in college, was on the Cardinals, like all these dreams that I was making come true. And it was just like nothing, you know, like a bunch of stuff got pulled under me.
Yeah.
And so it was kind of like an ego death in a way. I really had to sit with like, who am I without all these things? Without all these accomplishments, without all the stuff you've done, who really are you? And
oh my God, that like, the way you said that, like that, whoa.
Yeah.
That was poetry, honestly, because like the way you said that, like without the titles or the things that like you can on a resume you see, with all of that, and you're left with who I just show up as.
Yeah.
Like, who really am I?
Yeah.
What am I without all of these like flashy things?
And I think, it was a self-confidence. So I had, again, I was taking whatever people were telling me. I was using that as like who I am.
Yeah.
And so when nobody was able to tell me those things, it was
holy fuck, girl. What the fuck?
You know?
Me rethinking my holy shit. No, period. That's so fucking tea. Holy shit.
And so even being on the Cardinals, like the whole time I was there, I was imposter syndrome. I can't believe I'm here. Like dance has always been something that I struggled with feeling confident in and understanding like if I'm talented or not, because I didn't grow up in a studio. It's always been something that's like been a block for me. And so with dance too, like it was like all this compounded that I was just like, I'm just here. Gotta start from scratch.
Yeah.
And so yeah, it took a long time and I'm still like working on it.
Yeah, but you fucking did that without being in the studio. Like you did that. So
yeah,
girl, honestly.
Thank you. But yeah, dance has helped with that for sure. But it's definitely still like a journey.
Yeah, absolutely. What does it feel like to move freely in your body when the world often tries to limit you?
Oh my God. Stressful.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think, I don't know, because there's times where I don't even think about it. I just am naively kind of moving through life.
Okay.
And then, like I said, there's times where I'm brought back into reality. Like, okay, I really do need to realize that I'm someone that stands out. And I'm possibly a target. I don't know. I try to just show up as authentically as I can. That's kind of me masking in a way.
Yeah, but also like self-preservation.
Right, but also safety.
Yeah, safety. Also safety. Yeah.
So I realized that I'm a very like soft person. Like I'm not a fighter. And so I have to figure out ways, and I try to do more of the mental to, you know, keep myself safe.
Yeah.
But I feel like I said, if people get to know me before they know any of, you know, obviously I present a Black woman, so they know that I'm a Black woman, but before they get to know anything else about me, my neurodivergence, my queerness, anything else, I think once they get to know me and then they learn that, it's like, okay, they're able to see that you're a human. Like, yes, these things are a part of you and they may be a part of how you show up, but they don't change the connection we have. They don't change our relationship or whatever it is. Showing up as you, you know, and understanding that, yes, all of those are a part of you, but they're not. Don't put yourself in a box of each one, like, I'm this and this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't know.
That's how you tie back into that intersectionality. No,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
You're so many things that make you who you are.
Yeah.
And just embracing all of that. Like you
Yes.
said, don't put me in a box. And I think going off that same thing that, like you said, someone looks at me and they're like, clearly, you know, Black woman type of thing, 2 for 2.
Yeah.
But like, also, like you said, you're not going to go off of sight and just be like, queer. I mean, maybe.
I mean, yeah.
I mean,
depends on the situation.
maybe.
Right.
But I hope. No,
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
Like, I'm not gonna shy away from it.
Yeah.
It comes up, yeah, you know.
No, for sure. But I think too, as like being more like a femme presenting woman too,
exactly.
we, have that other added mask, or, in some situations, the safety to pass, and all of that kind of stuff, that you can assess, like you said, the vibes and see how you're going to proceed, which is nice. But then also sometimes it's hard in those like queer spaces to show up and be like, I'm here, but you also are like, well, you're not, like, you're presenting this type of way. And then for you, I don't even know if we want to tackle bi erasure, but like that's a whole different beast. So
I mean, even with myself, like, I still not question, because obviously I know I like women, but it's like, do I only like women?
Yeah.
Like, the more
it's a journey. The
more that I interact, the more I'm like, wait.
Yeah. So you've just been like exclusively dating women?
No, yes. Yeah.
No, I'm kidding.
Like, I talked to a couple men after my breakup, but nothing serious. Well, there's a couple that like lasted a couple months, but I don't know. I just wasn't at a point where I was even ready for anything.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, more recently, I just told myself I really want to explore that side.
Yeah.
Because it felt like I didn't know unless I explored it.
Exactly. I think that's valid.
Yeah. So that was just like my main focus for this year. So. That sounds crazy.
That was on my vision board.
Yes.
That was my 2025 New Year's resolution. Yeah. Scissor. What?
Oh, yeah. Literally.
And going off of that with the exploration and, kind of saying that's what you want to really focus on, exploring all of that.
Yeah.
How has that been dating, navigating, and the era that we are in, that is situationship culture, and just people not wanting to form like deeper connections? It's crazy. I mean, how has that been from your POV?
So for a while, like, I just was, when I was going into this, before, I wasn't really open to dating at all. Like, I'm not a dater. I don't like dating. It's just a lot energetically.
Yeah.
So I don't really like dating. But like, I don't mind going on dates with people and just having that connection, because you never know where it could lead. But also, you never know if this could be a friend of yours or whatever the case may be. Going into those, it was more so like an open thing. And I think my main thing was just being open about what you're expecting. And for me, it was like, I'm not expecting anything, but if it were to go that way, I'm open to it. If I had the connection with you, obviously. I don't know. For me, situationships, they're terrible. But if you're like, if you're just open and honest with me, that's my main thing. Like, just let me know, like, hey, I just kind of want to be fucking around. Literally just say that. And like, I will respect you. And if I just want to be fucking around too, then we could just be fucking around. But if I'm, looking for something more serious, I'm going to express that as well. Like, okay, well, I'm looking for a little bit something more serious. Or maybe I can't take the emotional, whatever comes with a situationship. So I'm going to exit, So yeah, I guess like just being open and honest.
Yeah. Have you seen like a going through the motions? Do you think your mindset is constantly changing? Where you were like a year ago versus where you are now, and the spaces in between, are you constantly reevaluating?
Oh yeah, I'm always reevaluating. Even like relationship wise specifically, before I was like, no. Like, don't even try it.
You said stay 10 feet back to be exact.
Yeah, just because like I knew I had a lot of work, a lot of stuff to work through, and it's just too much. And also trying to just focus on what I was going to do, and obviously dealing with a new diagnosis.
Yeah, hell yeah.
So I was just like, nah. Now I'm, a little bit more open, to dating around if that was something, if I have time. But who knows? Like, it might come to a time where I'm like, no, like, I'm good. Or I want to move forward with the more serious look and like actually pursue. Because my thing is like, it's not that I I don't want to be in a relationship. My thing, I wasn't pursuing a relationship. Like,
For
I
sure.
wasn't on the hunt. Like, like, I wasn't on the apps looking for people.
Yeah.
I wasn't going to singles nights. Like,
Yeah.
I wasn't. My thing has always been, like, someone will come and it'll just happen. I try not to, like, pursue those things because it just doesn't feel authentic to me.
Period, honestly. And, like, people always say that, quote unquote, like, they come in your expecting.
Yeah,
whatever.
no,
But,
literally.
like, I don't.
You're like, I'm not expecting. What? Relationship where?
Ew, I don't want that. I mean, sometimes they come when you're not expecting it. And then you're like, why did you
like,
come?
wait,
Why'd you?
Wrong time.
Yeah, what are you doing here? See yourself out.
Yeah.
No. But yeah, no, genuinely, I think that's super valid. And I think that that's important too, as you're, like you said, you're navigating all of that, finding like who you are. You get that experience by dating. I learned so much about myself through those experiences, especially like when I finally got to the point where I was like, I am only dating women, you know? Yeah, I definitely learned so much about myself, how I, you know, navigate certain situations, what I want, what I don't want, non-negotiables, all that kind of thing. And I think it's just so important to just experience people, and we're all out here, we're just trying our best, we're showing up like who we are, and we all just kind of want to make connections, and we all have like some form of love that we want to give type of thing. And I think it's valid. I think it's like, live your truth, do you, everything ebbs and flows. And
I like how you said you found yourself through dating, because that was another big thing too. Like, I found so many things that I thought maybe I had worked on.
Yeah, it gets highlighted and you're like, wait, what the fuck? Yeah.
Or just things that I didn't realize, you know, things that we weren't focusing on until I started dating. And it was like, okay, like, me, this is good, not even just, you know, to get back out there, but for myself as well. If I ever did want to have a partner, you know, what is that going to take now, where I'm at now?
100%.
So,
no, that's so valid. You don't understand exactly what you said, what your mindset is, where your stance is on certain things until you're presented with that. And then you're like, oh shit. But quite literally, yeah. And you have to navigate how you're going to deal with it. And it's so cool to see the transformation within yourself too. Yeah. Like, for me personally, my journey, I'm just like, holy shit. Like, even just like a year ago, I'm like, you know, and so it's definitely, it's interesting. And it's,
but hey, it means that you're open to change, you're open to growing, as crazy and, you know, as that process is. Yeah. I would rather go through the craziness than just be the same.
And do it for the plot.
Exactly.
Stories for days.
Way more fun.
Exactly.
That's my main thing in life. I just want to have stories. Even if I don't have kids to be with, I'll have a niece or nephew or somebody.
You have a podcast.
Exactly.
There you go.
You know what?
Yeah.
Yes, maybe.
I have stories. I have a podcast.
Yes.
Listen if you want.
I love it.
Yeah. So no, I definitely agree with you. I just want to tie it back into basically reclaiming yourself in like your future vision type of thing. I know you've been doing so much, finding yourself, going on your journey, and also with that comes the unlearning and also relearning how to take care of yourself, how to ask for what you need, and how to take up space. Yeah. So what has reclaiming yourself looked like for you lately?
Oh, you had mentioned something earlier when you were introducing about me taking up space, which is, it's so funny that, you know, you said that I was, because in my head, I feel like I don't take up space, or it's something that I struggle with doing. But when you said it in that way, it is like I am putting myself out there and taking up some sort of space, even if it's not physically. But I think really, like you said, learning how to express what I need, and even knowing what I need, because I feel like there's so many times where I don't even know that I need something, or I have to sit and figure out, okay, what is it that I'm needing right now? You know? And then going from there, how do I express that?
Yeah, how do I ask for it?
Communicate that, you know, communication has been something that's so hard for me, but I've been trying to work on. Yeah. And so it's just, for me, practice. The more I practice it, the more comfortable I get. But those are like the main things, is communicating and taking up space.
Yeah, for sure. And I think also going with that, like what you need and communication, there's also boundaries too that come up. And for you, what boundaries have like changed or become more like aware for you?
Ooh, not overextending myself. I do that so much and I still struggle with it.
Yeah.
But just feeling like doing everything because I want to do it and not listening to my body and not realizing that I can't do that.
Yeah.
Just because it's a lot of stress on my body and my mind, and it will lead to burnout eventually.
Hell yeah.
Faster than normal. So for me, just being able to express and let people down in that way.
Exactly.
And being like, I would love to, but I can't.
Exactly.
I'm tired. And acknowledging that being tired is an okay answer.
There you go.
That I'm allowed to rest.
Yes. And also you're allowed to just say no.
Yeah.
And you don't have to elaborate too.
Yes, that's something I'm definitely working.
I think that I totally agree with you with that overextending and like, you know, having trouble saying no, because as like a recovering people pleaser, that is like the hardest thing.
It's so hard.
So I feel you on that, and I am definitely trying to move forward with that boundary in mind too, because at the end of the day, we have to protect our peace.
Yeah.
So how do you protect your peace?
Oh, I journal every day. I try to every day. But yeah, journaling has really helped me. Just like if I'm stuck in my head, get those thoughts out and just move with a little bit more clarity. Or if I'm really ruminating on something, just writing it out and being able to just be real and raw.
Yeah.
And sometimes for me, it's easier to write things than it is to say them.
Yeah.
Like sometimes I can put words to paper, but I can't speak them. Yeah, that's like a thing that I do to like keep peace. A lot of alone time. Yeah, I love being and just like quietness, not in the quietness that people think, because I do have ADHD, so I do have to have something going on.
Yeah,
like we'll put on a podcast or like even white noise, jazz music in the background, but like coloring and having that, it allows me to really like kind of escape and be more in reality, which helps keep the peace, because the more I'm in my brain, the more chaos.
For sure. Definitely. That's so valid. And lastly, as you're moving forward with NeuroSpice tea, what is your vision for it moving forward? Where do you want that to go?
Yeah, so as I mentioned earlier, I would love to eventually start doing like in-person meetups and just like holding space. What that means is people just really opening up, being vulnerable. I want the vulnerability, but also the funny, the uncomfortable, like the crazy, the tea, you know, all of that. But a place that feels safe for people. With that, I want to have, you know, educational things there. So like I want to do one where it's like we talk about sex, and where we have people there that talk about, you know, getting tested, different ways that you can protect yourself, ways that you can safely engage in kink and things like that. Various different categories or topics. That's what I'd like, but obviously starting with more NeuroSpicy.
Emphasis on the spicy now. She brought a whole new layer to that shit. A visionary.
So yeah, that's eventually like that's a vision I see.
I love that. That just clicked. Wow. Okay. She's really thinking. She's really thinking.
There's always layers.
Oh my gosh. I love that. No, I'm excited to see where it goes. I love what you're doing already. And yeah, out here supporting however we can. So just a reminder, I'm going to definitely have it all linked in the bio and everything like that. So make sure that you check out NeuroSpice tea. Honestly, thank you for sharing all of that. I feel like that was church, therapy, tea time, and the masterclass all in one. I am grateful to Quasia that you came, for showing up with your truth, with your nuance, and your whole beautiful self. Make sure that you follow her at NeuroSpice tea on Instagram, and your personal Instagram is?
It's Queerness_.
So you heard it here. Make sure that you follow her on Instagram. I will have it all linked in the show notes.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah.
It's been so nice.
Is there any final takeaway that you want to leave the listeners with?
I guess, I don't know. The main theme throughout this whole episode is just like, be real.
Yeah, definitely. Be real and remember, taking up space in a world that asks you to shrink isn't selfish. It is sacred. As always, take what resonates and leave the rest. But for now, we're going to wrap this episode up. If you are enjoying my podcast, don't forget to rate it 5 stars because it not only lets me know that you enjoy listening, but it also helps my podcast get boosted so that I can reach a wider audience. Follow @StirringThePlotPod on all social media platforms to stay up to date and never miss an episode. If you'd like to connect with me, I am just @Dayna J Francois on all social media platforms. I will have everything linked in the show notes. And with that being said, if you liked listening, make sure that you subscribe to my podcast and tune in weekly because I'm gay, I'm hot, and if there's one thing about me, I'm gonna stir the plot.